you know, all operating systems have some basic fundamentals which are similar. They all differ between on the security algorithms and certain programming and how they behave and speak to each other, etc., etc. So, my question is becoming too long, but I'm sure you'll be able to. So start on the Harmony OS and what's happening.
Yeah, I think, thank you for that. And it was quite a detailed question, and there's a couple of points I want to touch on there. Going into HarmonyOS, and I will answer that question now. But I think I want to give some background in terms of how operating systems by nature function. So when I go into HarmonyOS and why it is not mainstream in Huawei mobile phones now, you and your listeners will have a better understanding of what's going on behind the scenes. At the same time, you also mentioned about, technology in general, and you said all technology is good, right? I just want to touch on that point is, well, not all technology is bad. Is if you look at technology by nature, whether it is hardware, software, artificial intelligence, like I mentioned earlier on, if it is used for good intent, then technology is good. Technology is not inherently evil because technology is not self-aware. They are not like us. They are not alive. They don't have a soul. They don't have intentions. Who's the evil ones? It is the human beings behind the technology that's controlling it, right? Just like how a drone can be used to deliver food, a drone can be used to help a farmer with his crops. A drone can also be used in the military to kill people, right? So it is really the intent of the people creating it or using those technologies. Similarly, when we say technology for good, what is the intention of the organization behind that technology? Is the intention of that organization just for sales and commercial, to be able to grow their numbers and just get people and taking all that data? Or is it really to say, well, let's, in the South Africa or African context, we know South Africa is the most unequal country in the world. This is our market capacity right now, because these are the people that can afford this technology or access it. If we don't groom them and if we don't help them and society to grow and elevate themselves, in 10 years' time, we will still have only that addressable market. Or do we take them out of that and grow their social standing and develop them so that in 10 years' time, as a company and organization, we're also growing and we have more people that are supporting our brand and we can grow together? These are some of the things that, you got to consider and we got to think about. So similarly, when it comes to operating systems, if you look at all operating systems, I don't think, and I'm not going to go out there and say any one of them is bad, but they all have their own unique benefits and their own issues here and there. Android, for example, as an operating system is great because, like you mentioned, it has a huge addressable market. There's a massive developer community. There's great work going in from a collaboration perspective to constantly improve it. I mean, if you look at Android 10 years ago when it started to what it is today, massive difference. And Huawei throughout that decade has been a key role player in terms of developing and picking up Android to the level it's come through today. That is why it was one of the reasons we were so disappointed with the action that was taken, which was a political one and not a technological one. I mean, we don't have an issue with Google. We can sit around a table and have a discussion like we're doing now, but they have to comply as an American company to the regulations and the restrictions. But Android by nature is open source, so anybody can access them. When you are talking about Google knowing when you went to pee, that is Google's mobile services that are integrated into Android and embedded. This is where you have the Google ID and the Google logins, and you have the Google advertising ID, and they can be able to track you. You have the Google location services. Remove GMS from Android, and 99% of your security concerns are gone. So when you look at what we are doing right now, Android by nature being open source, anybody can use it. Huawei has used Android. All our current phones are still Android. But because we don't have access to Google's proprietary GMS, which they license to everybody, because remember, Google, number one, is an advertising company. That's their business model. Yeah. So they use your data. Now, I'm not saying they are insecure. Please, whoever's listening, don't get me wrong. What I am saying is the nature of their business is advertising. The nature of their business is big data. And nothing in this world is free, people. So if you want to have access to free email, if you want to have access to free content, if you want to have access to free navigation, throughout our history, not only with Google, with many companies, we sacrifice something. So people are well aware, whether it is Google, whether it is Facebook, whether it is anything else, that we share some of our private information for the benefit of having access to utilize this technology. That's a choice we made. Nobody forced us to do it. Okay? But when you look at Huawei phones now that are running Android, because GMS is no longer there, we have included HMS. HMS is the services or the core services as well as APIs that applications need to run on the Android operating system. So the operating system is no problem. There's no issue there. What you are talking about is what's pulling my data. So for example, on HMS with the Huawei ID, you have the option to switch off your advertising trackers. Completely switch it off, which on a normal Android phone that runs GMS,
Really?
you don't have that option. Yeah. You know,
let me stop you. Say it again, because I want it on the record. I love it. So if this is what is coming, this is phenomenal, incredible. So it means that now we have an option of an operating system which is giving control to the very users because of whom the company exists. The brand or the product exists because of the customers. If there are no customers, then users, it's useless. So I love that part. So to me, as a layman customer, that means you are giving my control back to me.
That's it.
Continue.
Totally. We don't want to totally block it out, because some people, like I just mentioned, because of convenience, would like to say, well, if I've searched for this product on the internet, when I'm browsing Facebook or another application, I'd like recommendations based on what my interests are. So for them, they have that opportunity. But for you who's concerned about being tracked, switch it off. We're giving you that. One of the difficulties with the Android ecosystem has been that Google manages and owns the platform, especially from a GMS perspective, licenses it to everybody else. But then you've got multiple hardware vendors, and they take it and then they got to do customizations on top of that. But the back end, when you from a Google GMS perspective, is still running via Google services. So it's very, very difficult. Because, for example, from a security standpoint, if I want to be able to restrict the amount of data that's transferred, if I'm using GMS, I can't do that. Because by nature of GMS, as long as you've got Google mobile service embedded in your phone, it's going to share an X amount of data to somebody else. With Huawei's new devices, yes, we are running Android, but we own the hardware, we own the chipset. And now we take Android that has no Google influence, update release as open source, and customize with HMS and our security protocols. And then we also encrypt from a hardware level on your chipset. So we can go to vendors, whether it is biometrics, whether it's your financial information. This will never have to be transferred to anybody anymore. This can be in an encrypted safe zone within your chipset and never leave your phone and your device ever. So all of these possibilities were very difficult to do prior, which is now opening up an entire different dimension. So why have we decided to stick with Android? I just want to summarize that quickly. We stuck with Android because of its maturity, because Android and its growth over the last decade was not just Google, but the collaboration of brands like Huawei and others that helped its development and worked on their technical development too. So we understand what it is, and they have a very mature app ecosystem already. And By nature of our phone still being Android, 90% of those applications that exist will already run on it. Only those that needs deep Google integration will need to be adapted. So it made business sense, but also we were able to control the security. When it comes to Harmony, Harmony is a future-orientated operating system. This is something we are looking that's beyond what people look on a mobile phone right now. So at the moment, we're saying it is for IoT, or it's been designed for IoT. Can it be embedded on a mobile phone? Most certainly it can. But when you look at what you require, because your mobile phone is the most used electronic device on the planet, you need to be able to have it to be seamless and have access to many applications. So there will be a development for Harmony over a period of time. So we're still developing that. But when you're talking about seamless connectivity, cross-platform and across devices, and this is where we are going right now, Harmony will be able to work on in-car entertainment systems. Harmony will work on smart screens. Harmony will work on wearables. Harmony will eventually work on mobile phones and tablets. And when you see that and you see the coming together of all of these devices, this is where you're going to see the true benefit for consumers, because you will be able to now do collaboration between multiple devices. You will be able to, and remember, Harmony is open source. We're always going to make it open source. So that is something else that we are looking at to be able to develop that even further. So that other manufacturers, because remember, Huawei's strategy is what we call 1 + 8 + N. We have capability in the mobile phone. This is your primary device connecting you to everything else. But we also have capability in AR, VR, smart screens, wearables, music devices. But beyond that, we don't make smart light bulbs. We don't make smart kitchen products, your microwaves, your smart stoves. We don't make curtain rails and all of these kind of things, right? But we have partners that do that. By being able to deploy something like Harmony, we bring all of this together. So you, Rizwan, don't have to have 10 different applications on your phone when you go home, one for your CCTV, one to turn off your lights, one for your robot vacuum cleaner. Everything will just be able to seamlessly come together, and that is where true smarts will be achieved. So Harmony is a future system that's going to be much faster, much more reliable than what Android or anything ever is. And I think the problem and the mistake is mainstream media, because the announcement of Harmony came along the same time when the US restriction took place, they associated it with it being Huawei's replacement for Android. Harmony is not Huawei's replacement for Android, because Harmony is way bigger than Android. Over to you.
I think I smell 5G in HarmonyOS. I think when we talk about 5G, so suddenly people, the technology industry, people realize, apart from the industrial implications, I think it's more about everything connected. So 5G is that technology which is gonna eventually connect everything, all the connected devices, which is IoT. So let it be sensors or smart cities or smart societies, smart schooling, smart connectivity, sensors and whatnot. To me, it looks like HarmonyOS by design has the soul of 5G, which will eventually connect anything and everything which is electronic mobility. That's one, my thoughts. So I'm going to come to my question from this, what I'm trying to explain. So tell me that in terms of the development cycle, and we are seeing a lot of apps also coming up on HMS and all. How soon, in generic terms, I'm not sure if you're allowed to say things or not, but in generic terms, how soon the consumer can expect something, either it's IoT connectivity, AI or VR product or anything related, will have HMS at core? It's a quick question, then I'm going to go to the next question.
Okay, so with that question specifically, very quick answer. And I just want to reiterate, HMS and Harmony, totally different. HMS is based on the Android platform, and it is Huawei's core services integrated into Android. The benefit of HMS is already there, right? All of Huawei's phones that have been launched from the Mate 30 Pro onwards are HMS enabled. Also, older devices that run GMS can still get HMS as an OTA because HMS comes, like I mentioned, with its own unique benefits, additional functionality that traditional GMS Android phones don't offer. So we don't want our historic and our older consumers to lose out from these benefits. So their phones also are capable. HMS is already there. It is deployed already. We have over 400 million monthly active users. The applications that are coming in are growing, but what people tend to look at when they look at applications and app stores is Rizwan independent apps, third parties. So what I mean by that is on your phone, you open up your mobile phone and you have 50 applications or 60 applications. This is not where the future is. Because if you have 50 applications or you have 60 applications, there's a problem because most of us will only use 10 to 15. And that is why you find that even on the store, on the App Store, application developers are struggling for FaceTime. There's on Android, Google's Play Store, you have around 3 million applications. How do you go and compete and how do you stay relevant even as a business? There's not, they say there's an app for everything. No, there's not. There's 1,000 apps for everything. How do you go and get the consumer FaceTime and how do you get your app to benefit and to penetrate? Over and above that, how do you as a user now filter through all of these things and see what is best for you and have to navigate and have all, this is not simple. This is not making your life better. So what HMS and Harmony is looking at is beyond just having applications embedded. We are looking at app integration. And this is already happening. So for example, if you buy one of our new phones in South Africa, and I'm going to give it in the South African context, one of our phones in South Africa, and you want to make a purchase, you want to buy something, you want to buy a computer or something else. We normally, if you're looking at an e-commerce provider, our biggest one is Takealot. All the other Android phones or iOS, you have to go and download the Takealot application, each time go and open it. Whereas on the Huawei phone, we've partnered with Takealot and we have it integrated, which means that when you slide your screen right and you say, all it says is shopping. If you want to be able to make shopping, you click on one and it takes you directly to Takealot as part of the operating system without having to download an application. We are working with, by design, because we have partnered with them. And this is what we're looking at, the local development. You will also know with our artificial intelligence technology, our phone cameras are able to scan, to take a picture of food and tell you how many calories on it, right? Our phone cameras are also able to take a photograph of a menu and then translate that. So we are taking these technologies further. When I say take it further, for example, and I cannot mention names of the partners we're going with, but if you take a drive to Monte Casino or anywhere else in South Africa, I'm just using Monte as an example. You take a photograph of the building. Just by taking that photo, your phone will automatically, without another app, be able to give you historic information. When was this building built? It will also be able to tell you the Teatro is inside Monte Casino. This is what they do. Would you like to book a ticket? From within your photograph, all you did was take a photograph. You don't have to go now onto onto a website, onto an application and say, okay, what fun activities are here? No, it will give you recommendations that are relevant to that situation. You click on it and you can book a ticket at the same time. If you go and you search on the mobile phone, all you're going to do is a native search, pull down and say, well, Johannesburg to London. Recommendations for flights will come up automatically. The cheapest flight prices will be fed to you. You can make an instant booking without going into a third-party application or to a third-party website. Once you've made that booking, a card is then put onto your screen and it will also provide you a recommendation for the nearest hotel as well as a taxi, as an example. This is where you find that seamlessness, that natural interaction starting to take place. And that would have not been possible if we did not move towards the HMS platform. So that, in an answer to your question, is HMS then is not Huawei's answer to Google or to Android. We did not go and just create an alternative, because then that would have made us no better than what they already are. How can we compete? We don't want to be the same to what's already there. We want to take it up a level. And that's exactly what HMS is. But also there needs to be an understanding that HMS is only a few months old. The other systems that are out there are a decade old. So there needs to be a certain amount of admiration or respect for what we've been able to achieve in such a short space of time. Given a year or two, can you imagine what it's going to be? And this is our target, is to be able to say, how can we take this to beyond what people's expectations? How can we be able to create solutions and opportunities for our consumers using the phone to have unique functionality and benefits, but at the same time, our partners